and he was doing work
on Devin Booker.
Any mismatch, it didn't matter. Jay Crowder, you want something, come get it. Bridges, you want something, come get it. Book, you wanted to, get it. Reggie Jackson, and then Boogie gave him valuable practice. So now, Skip, because remember the first 3 or 4 games, Paul George was taking 12, 14 shots in the first quarter. That's far too many. He was pressing. Now he sees these other guys got it going. He could relax. He had 11 points. I think he had like maybe 8 shots in the first half. And then he came out in the third quarter and got ultra aggressive. Because he's like, okay, I got some help now. Hey, these guys gonna come along with me if I need to. Hey, I don't have to force any issue. Marcus still had it going. Reggie Jackson had it going. And Reggie, the big shot after big shot in the fourth quarter, Skip. But the main reason I just felt the Suns thought they could show up. The Clippers were going to just, you know what, hey, we had a great run. Because they have every excuse, Skip. No Zubac sprained knee. Kawhi, oh, man, you know, they ain't got Kawhi. They just go and give him. Because that's what most teams would do.
And remember, Ty Lue said before the game last night, we're actually down 3 starters. Don't forget, Serge Ibaka was going to be a starter for them, and he's gone with the back end. Okay.
Give the Clippers credit. They lived to see another day. They played extremely hard. They made some ball-head plays to Skip. You can't play the way the Suns played and expect to win. They need more out of Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder is down half 12. He was averaging 12, I think, 12, 13 against the Nuggets. He's down to 6. Mikal, for the last couple of games, they've been no-shows. They got to do better than this. You remember Jay Crowder against LA? He's saucing. He's saucing. I ain't seen nothing. Now I see him moonwalking. No, bro, you got to give me more than that. Yeah, he does that. All 3-pointers, and Paul George trying to. And then he's going to talk about what? So you fouling, man. Give the Clippers credit, Skip. It's their day. It's their flowers. They deserve the coordination. Whatever praise people are heaping on the Clippers is deserved today.
Okay, I appreciate you saying that. So, bottom line, you would give Paul George a grade last night of A++, says Shannon Sharp. Hey, Paul George, I don't know if I want to go to hater, but I think you'd qualify as a hater. Truth-telling. Well, you've been calling him Polyester P for the last couple of shows, right? Okay, and you gave Polyester P A++.
Yep. He got
okay. My turn. So, at this moment, Paul George has now played 130 more minutes than any other player in the playoff. 150 more minutes than anybody on his team, second Reggie Jackson. Think about that. 130 more minutes than anybody who's playing in the playoffs. And I feel like I've played 130 more minutes than anybody playing in the playoffs because the Clippers have worn me out. Never in my life have I ever been so frustrated, so tormented, so baffled, found it so excruciating to root for a team as I have for this team through this playoff run. Because just when you think it's done, it ain't done. I have quit on this team multiple times through this playoff run. I quit on them last night a couple of times. I quit on Pandemic P a couple of times last night. I'm about to explain why. But they don't quit. They have not been blown out one time through this whole playoff run. Usually you have a bad game where you just say, you guys can have this one. They don't do that. You realize they have now outscored the Phoenix Suns by 17 points through these 5 games.
Right.
You realize that in point differential, they're now tied with the Bucks for number 1 in the playoffs.
Right.
Okay, there's something going on here that is right, even though it often feels so wrong, because you cannot get them out of your hair. You try, as Chris Paul said after Game 4 at Staples, they just don't quit. They got a lot of fight in them. So I don't know, all the cliches, whatever, and it starts with Ty Lue. I agree with you, but just when you think you can trust them, you can't trust them, and just when you want to write them off, you better not. That's my bottom line.
To Chris Paul's point, wouldn't you think you would take them more seriously than what you took them last night if you know they don't quit? You just uttered the word on Saturday. They don't quit.
That they heard right before the tip that Zubac is out. And so big to big, Zubac was doing a credible job. I think just credible. He could sort of stand him off a little bit or fight with him a little bit.
He's getting rebounds. I mean, when he had 16 rebounds one game, 14 another game.
And you would think because he was an emerging superstar, DeAndre Ayton, that you'd think last night he would dominate. They call him a dominator.
Yeah.
He would dominate this game. Well,
Are you serious?
he dominated with a grand total of 10 points and 11 rebounds. And would you believe that the Clippers were only out-rebounded last night by 1?
Come on, live,
The
man.
Clippers scored 58
Man,
points
get
to
the
only
fuck
32.
out of here, live, man. That's why I brought you down. This cocksucker gonna fucking run off.
Valley of the Suns, right?
Yep.
So, now let's go back to what actually happened in the game. I have told you all year that weirdly, because I can't explain it, Marcus Morris is the veteran leader of this team, and it goes as Marcus Morris Sr. goes. I can't explain why, but if he's going to come out in the first quarter and hit 6 out of 7 shots, if he's going to hit his first 6 shots, if he's going to score 13 right out of the box, and they're going to jump up 20-5, I got a shot.
You got a shot.
Right? Because that's all I needed from Marcus really was just that. He wound up with 22, but I needed that salvo from him that set a tone and put Phoenix in a hole it never could quite dig all the way out of.
Very important because normally they fall behind in the first quarter. Now Clippers like, oh, we in this thing. We in your building. We up.
Okay. Meanwhile, Paul George in the first quarter was a flat-out no-show. It's why I am not going to go A++. I'm going to give you 2 sequences of Paul George that drove me out of my mind. In fact, you can go look at my timeline. I tweeted late first quarter, get Paul George out of there, because he came out lifeless, deadheaded. It looked like he was moving in slow motion to me, like he couldn't get up to the RPM of the game. Jeff Van Gundy was all over it saying, it's like he's passing like there's no defense out there. And the defense is getting its hands on balls like crazy. If we could see the two of the turnovers that just drove me crazy, they're about as careless as you can get.
I know
And this
exactly
is
what
when
you're talking
you
about.
have a lead, and all of a sudden you're saying, here, Phoenix, get back in the game. Here, try this. Here's Paul George. What is that? You're trying to throw it through 3 guys? You can't do that.
Yeah, that was wrong.
Don't do that. Don't do that. There's 2 defenders right there. It's so careless. It's so nonchalant. It's so half speed. I'm saying there's one more where the ball got tipped up in the air and he retrieved it to save himself a turnover. Well, he scored a grand total of 3 points in the first quarter and actually just kind of, he was waiting around our neck. Yeah.
But Skip, that's my point. Because the other guys got off to such a great start.
He did not agree. Reggie got off to a hot start, okay?
Boogie come in and Skip.
He came in, and all of a sudden, I'm looking up, and Boogie winds up with 15 points in this game. What a revelation that was. Okay, so now, let's fast forward to the third quarter. Here came Phoenix, and I know what Shannon Sharp was doing up in his palatial estate. He was up, and he had his pom-poms.
Once we got to leave him at the year, we got him now.
Chris Paul hit a jumper with 8:27 left in the third quarter, and that made them 62-61 up, and that was their first lead, and it was their last lead.
Holy lead.
That's incredible. They got it by 1, and I thought, the dam has broken. This will be the end of these guys. I thought the Clippers had one last good half in them, and they finally said, we don't have Kawhi, we don't have Big Zoo, we don't even have Ibaka. We did the best we could do. Here, Phoenix, enjoy the finals.
Right.
And guess who showed up? Pandemic P suddenly turned back into playoff P because he makes an and-one play that was kind of weird if we could see what happened at this moment in the game. He goes up and under and sort of loses his balance and has an awkward stop-start. And here he goes again, and now he's off to the races. And here he goes with another shot. Now he's on fire, P. And he's got 2 free throws. By the way, he went 8 of 8 for the free throw line. You believe in that after all those free throws he missed, especially at Phoenix? So he gets those, and here he goes again. Now we're about to go to Threeville. He shoves Chris Paul down. He probably got away with a little Jordan-esque push-off, but he nails that 3, and then he comes down, and now he is feeling it. And bang! And here we go, and we're going to cap off this salvo pretty quickly here with another jumper. And would you believe, last shot, here we go. Oh, yeah, this is from the top. One last 3, just for good measure. That's unbelievable. He scored 18 points in a row. Just incredible. And they go to the fourth quarter up 91-78. And we'll get more heavily into this a little later, but there was the little altercation between CP3 and Pat Bev, where they just ran into each other basically off a pick.
Right.
And we'll get into the details of that play in just a couple of minutes. But to me, Pat Neville was trying to clown him. He dared to mock him for flopping in Pat Bev's view.
But it wasn't a flop.
Okay, we can get into that. But the point was, I thought Patrick Beverley sent a message to both teams. We're not afraid of you guys. In your house or anybody else's house, we're not afraid of Chris Paul. We got this. And here they came. Or so I thought.
Right.
Because Paul George took his little rest at the start of the fourth quarter. And with 9:18, he comes back in the game. And I'm thinking, okay, Paul, you're on fire. Take us home. Could we see what started to happen at this point? Here we went again with pandemic feet. He reared his ugly head. Paul, don't do that. That's just careless. You can't. You're hanging on to a lead here. No, Paul. No, don't do that. That's just horrendous. I'm out of my mind. I'm rolling on my floor because there's an and one at the other end, and Cam Johnson, that's the and one. And look what Paul George does. He just shuts down Torrey Craig for no apparent reason. Just out of frustration. It's just pure frustration. And at that point, they have cut it to 4, and they get the ball back. And I'm thinking, I know what you were thinking. It's over, right? Here we go again.
We're going to make another push and get him this time.
And guess who? Mr. June. Here he came again. Reggie Jackson. He's unbelievably gifted as a clutch scorer.
Right.
And I don't know how these are guarded shots.
Right.
These are contested
Well,
shots.
we did that one. The first one, I think that you're going to show them where it comes. Then I said, let's go out and go to the end. Yeah, we done.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we done. Skip, you look, Skip, it looks like this happened. You know you're done. Skip it.
Reggie. Thank you. We deserve one grace, one favorable roll. And Reggie says, I got this, and that is really contested and really deep. And then his skipper. And then he says, watch this, Chris Paul. And he flushed. Guess what? Here they go. And they finish a 14-2 run. So it was cut to 4, and all of a sudden, by the 4:47 mark, it's pretty much done.
Well, Skip, I was feeling really good. Because you remember right before the half, 3 seconds on the clock, they passed the ball to A, he handed up the
Beautiful. That was some play.
Nailed the 3, so we're down 7. I was like, okay, baby, yeah.
I agree.
Paul George said, no. Skip, out of the Suns, that defense, what they were playing, Skip, you can't. They shot 55% from the floor. They got whatever they want and however they want. You want a shot in the basket, at the rim, get it. Come on, man. Come do the double. I don't know why they didn't bring the double quicker for Marcus Morris. Okay, you see him getting it going. Now, there ain't no when he shoots at least 50% from the floor. Guess what he shot last night? Guess what their record is? So, okay, bring the double. Skip, Marcus Morris 6'8", 6'9". Why you putting 6'5" book on it? Get the post.
It messed them up when Zoo didn't start because they couldn't match up. And again, they even opened it a zone. They're just playing zone because they don't have their big man.
Right.
And it seemed to disrupt and distract.
It is, because they didn't expect that because, normally you have the big, you play big on big. And the only time they was playing the zone, Skip, you remember the Clippers went to the zone when Utah was shooting the lights out the play.
Yeah.
And it confused Utah for a little while. And so I'm thinking to myself, I see Big A, and I said, man, ain't no eat tonight. I said, they got that zone. They got it. I don't know why they would not be a Skip. He needs more than 9 shots. He's the guy that can just Skip. He's not a guy that just roll and you just go lob. He can post. He's a legit big man that can play with his back to the basket. Skip, he can see some of those jumpers he was hitting. I'm like, ooh, that's nice. Give him a chance.
DeMarcus Cousins played 11 minutes and 19 seconds, but do you realize DeAndre Ayton, budding superstar, was mostly guarded by Marcus Morris or Nicholas Batum? That's who's guarding, and you can't get him loose for a bunch of alley-oop dunks?
Really? Or at least post him up, Skip. But I thought the Clippers did a great job of not conceding rebounds. Because it looked like the Clippers, like Ayton was going to have the rebound, and Batum or Marcus Morris would knock it loose, and one of the Clipper players would get it. They conceded nothing last night. They were hustling, they were diving on the floor. This is a well-coached team, and they're not going down without a fight. You might beat them, but you're going to know you beat a very well-coached team that gave you everything they had on a given night. So give those guys credit. But the Suns, if you think you can just show up, roll the ball out, and the Clippers are just going to go away because they're playing without Kawhi, they're playing without Serge Ibaka, they're playing without Zubac, you're sadly mistaken. Now, I don't know if you know this, Skip. You better try to let this team win. And a game 7, all bets are off. All bets are off in the game 7. And you say, oh, we got out. Because they're going to start to feel it. Now, they feel confident because they say, oh, really? This series really should be over.
Let's go.
That's correct.
It should be over. It should be 4-1.
I agree.
You know, and don't think you because you're up 3-2, they're less confident than if they were up 3-2 because they're not. Chris Paul, you need to get your guys right.
He needs to get himself right, too. He played okay last night, but he wasn't superstar.
No.
He wasn't able to take over the fourth quarter.
He missed some threes that CP normally hits.
Well, did he make any threes?
No,
he was 0 for 3, right? 0 for 6 from
Jay Crowder 0 for 4.
So, in the end, big picture, would you believe the Los Angeles Clippers have now won the most games in one playoff run when trailing in series? The most. They've won 7 times when they're trailing in series. No one's ever won 7 in a postseason run.
Right.
That's extraordinary.
Right.
That's Ty Lue. It's Paul George. It's Reggie Jackson. It's this whole mindset of defensive rebounding. Like you said, do they not scratch and claw for defensive rebounds and loose balls?
A lot of these guys, Skip, with the exception, Paul George went, he wanted it out of Indy, he wanted it out of OKC. But for the most part, Skip, all these guys are cast off. Detroit bought Reggie Jackson out. Marcus Smart, the nigga that didn't say you could have.
They did.
Luka Kennard, they said you got weed. We don't care about no Luka.
We don't care.
Those guys are
Marcus Cousins have been all over the map.
Although he's played just about every team in California.
Yep.
The Kings, the Lakers, now he's on the Clippers. They're in a California team he has.
Listen, Nicholas Batum is very valuable to his team.
Yep.
And Charlotte
You bought him out.
No, we're done.
So now, this is their opportunity to show all those teams, all those execs that bought us out and said we can't be a part of a championship winning team. This is their opportunity to say, yes, we can. See what we're doing? Man, Ty Lue, I don't think Ty Lue gets enough credit. Because I think the thing when he was with the Cavs, you got LeBron. How much credit are you going to get if you coach LeBron? How much credit does Phil Jackson get for coaching Jordan and having Kobe? Because normally when you have great players, yeah, he's a good guy, but he did have Magic. He did have Larry. He did have... But you see now, he doesn't have a LeBron. And his best player, Kawhi, is out. And look what they're doing.
Oh, come on. Kittle, man. Oh, my God, man.
I woke up yesterday morning.
That's that bullshit, man.
Well, I say, because you were over.
That's a fucking god.
It was man, Chris, they let me down. They let me down. They let me down. Now they got to make right, do right by me.
Well, the Clippers are not going to let you up, is what the deal is. They got you down, they're not going to let you up.
Oh, so you take the Clippers again?
Absolutely, but we'll talk about that in just a moment.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about this game. We're not done. Tyler making your day very long, Shannon. He said it was very doable, this comeback. I don't know why we didn't listen to him. We have so much more from this game, from this series. Did Paul George prove he deserves some more respect? And will the Clippers actually pull off yet another comeback? Skip says yes. Stick around, lots to say coming up.
You're all here for football.
Welcome to the party, my friend.
We're here for the Thursday night throwdowns. Friday awesome date, Sunday morning breakdowns. He's going to his legacy and all the inside lowdown. The most complete prospect in the draft. Your team. They added so much speed. Our team. It's such an exciting time for a fan centered team. We're all here for it. NFL Network. We're here for football.
From head to body, every tool then, honest question, do you know what this does to making the most of this gym membership day? I'm here for moral support. Doing great, Tammy. The new City Custom Cash Card automatically adjusts to where your spending is trending.
Each of us has a different story, but this family isn't about where you come from. It's about where you're going. We might not recognize each other walking down the street, but driving down it. We don't look alike, but deep down, we all share the spirit of adventure. There's only one family and one community quite like ours. Jeep, there's only one.
Now get 3 years no-cost maintenance with the Jeep Wave program, included with all 2021 Jeep brand vehicles.
Your mom's been posting a lot since she got that phone from Cricket. Every day. Here's a comment. We stand. Oh, Mom. Yes, Mom. More phone? Well, thanks. Mark Valeriano was shook with the new Popeye sandwiches and more pack. With 4 chicken sandwiches, 4 tenders, and a large side for $25, there's something for everyone. Start earning points with Popeye's Rewards. I'm not hungry! You're having one more bite. Yeah, one more bite. Kraft, for the win-win.
New Budweiser Summer Patriotic cans are here to help you celebrate 4th of July. The red, white, and Budway. Select all 3 limited edition designs. New Budweiser Summer Patriotic cans. Hit stores now.
Did you hear that? State Farm thing. Thing we had a commercial. Jake from State Farm, I knew it.
Don't worry, Chris. Things are gonna go surprisingly great.
Dad, look!
See? Surprising. Just like State Farm's surprisingly great rates.
Oh, I didn't even report.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Babe, it's 8 a.m.
Fried chicken, better, best.
Iced tea, stone cold. Calling on everyone to turn to cold washing with Tide. And Coca.
Hello, my name is Ice T. Can you spare a few seconds to learn about cold water washing?
Hi, my name's Steve. Did you know washing in cold can save you $100 a year on your energy bill?
What really should turn to cold? It helps the environment.
What? Because Stove Cold said so. Plus, Tide cleans great in cold.
Paul George had an efficient night in the Clippers' Game 5 win. PG-13 racked up 31 points on 15 of 20 shooting from the floor that included 3 of 6 from deep and a perfect 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Teammate DeMarcus Cousins defended PG-13 after the game, saying he's taking a bad rap. Take a listen.
I don't know where this trolling is coming from, where this, the internet controls the narrative about these players. It's becoming foolish, man. Like I said earlier, I'm a special player that lace his shoes. Get to do his flowers, man. I don't understand the slander.
Well, there you go. Shannon, how much truth is there to that?
There's no truth. Let me, I can just clear it up for you. The internet didn't start this match.
Let's get it.
My normal researcher, my guy that helps do my part of the show, Steve, he's on vacation. Yeah, that's why you've been so bad. He and his lovely wife just have twins. Spending time with those guys.
Hey, Brad.
You're going.
You're excused.
Yeah, Uncle Shay me there.
We gotta get
I got me a new one. Okay. Ash, my gal. I need you to do me a favor. Get my call on Sunday. She had Disney. I think she said she was at Disney. But anyway, I said, I need you to do me a favor. I said, I want you to go back as far as you can and find the first time someone referred to a teammate, a player, or someone else referred to Paul George as playoff Pete. She went all the way back. She said, I'm in 2011. I went from 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I never heard one person refer to Paul George as playoff Pete.
Until
2018. He referred to himself as playoff Pete.
he did.
So, when you give yourself a name like that, you better perform, come win, get not the regular season.
That's some third-level research.
Yeah, because I needed to know. So maybe I missed something. And the name PG-13 Bill Simmons gave him that name. He recommended that he change his number. Say PG-13 was better than PG because he was 24 at first. Put in a request and then you have to file the jersey. But that's not there for that. So that's what I'm saying. So when you give yourself a name, Magic. Somebody gave him that name because of what he could do with the basketball. It's like he
by the way, greatest nickname ever.
Yeah. Larry Legend.
Okay.
He didn't say, I'm Larry Legend. No. He didn't give himself that name. Mike didn't give himself that.
Could live up.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me tell you what a playoff heat. Before in 2013, before he became Paul George, when there was no expectations, he gave the Heat, the big three Heat, all they could handle. Yeah. So the Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7 points on 2 of 9 shooting. 2017, round 1 against Miami, they got swept. In Game 4, he had 15 points on 5 of 21 shooting. In 2018, round 1 against Utah, Game 6, 9 points on 2 of 16 shooting. Last year, 2020, Western Conference semifinals against Denver, 10 points on 4 of 16. Lucky, what you mean you don't understand?
Where you run too far?
Has come up short. Yes. That's what it is. There ain't no internet created no narrative. Just like he created that name, he got to do something about this. Now, it's easy to do this when you get your Marcus Smart goes for 20 in the first half, and Reggie Jack goes for 14, and Boogie goes for 10. So now Paul George like, okay, I can relax. The pressure's not on me. But I need the pressure because here's the thing to get about Game 5. You're 5.5 point underdog. Everybody expects you to lose anyway. So I just will cost you to the win. Now that you got the game going back into your building, now I want to see what you're doing.
My other linebacker supposed to be right there. Man, he running way over there.
This notion that all of a sudden people just started attacking Paul George because they did. Paul George brought this on himself with his play in meaningful ball games. I'm not talking about the regular season because he didn't say my name. I mean, I'm regular season beat. And watch what I do in the regular season. I'll be cooking for the regular season. Yep. He said playoff beat. And prior to last night, give me a Paul George signature playoff game. Prior to last night, for everyone that you give me, I give you 4 weeks of a small. That's how it happens. That's how it always happens. There's a reason things transpire. You control. You created this. Okay, now draw a new picture. Okay, Paul, you got a great start. You started on a new canvas. Okay, let's see if you can finish it.
Okay, so bottom line to this debate is that I think we agree Paul George has become one of the all-time
Come on, man. So you just not going to fucking
for
block.
both positivity and negativity. Right?
Yes.
Come on.
But I love that TV.
Great.
Okay.
Who that on
I do
that
too.
side?
But for me, because I'm rooting for the Clippers, he has become one of the most conflicting, confounding players I've ever tried to root for because from quarter to quarter, I don't know what I'm going to get from him. I'll get some pandemic, and then I'll get some playoff. I believe in playoff P. I've told you all year, I thought he grew up and toughened up after what happened in the bubble. And to DeMarcus's point about, I don't know where this came from. Well, it just came from the bubble. He melted down and he admitted it publicly. He said, I crumbled psychologically. I needed help in the bubble. And it was in part because they were stuck in the bubble and he got what they call cabin fever, where you get stuck in your room in your hotel and you just can't take it anymore. And it started to affect his performance on the court with no fans. So the point is that that's where it all came from. And yet the irony of this is, I thought so many people out there in Viewerland want our athletes today to show vulnerability.
Yeah.
If you have psychological issues, weakness, you should go seek counseling. Well, he admitted, I needed a counselor in the bubble. And he got annihilated for it. He got ridiculed for needing counseling.
What he got ridiculed for, Skip, is that he used that as an excuse. Because when he played good, he didn't need no counseling. It was only when he started to play bad. So what was that in 2013 when he melted down? What was that in 2017, 2018? What was that? He didn't
I believe he did first acknowledged this publicly. I think it was on TNT right after a good game. Against Dallas.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, and he went in and found out the first 5 games of the series or whatever it was. I just crumbled.
I don't listen. People deal with things. There are things going on with people like we may not know about. So they're secretly battling demons. Okay, I got that. But Skip, you can't say when things are going bad, you're battling this. And when things are going good, you're on top of the world. He's like Leonardo DiCaprio in the Titanic. He's on top of the world when things are going good. When things go bad, no, that's all I'm saying. You got issues, deal with them. I empathize with you. But don't do this. Don't do this boogie to pretend like you don't know.
I hope this ends better than it did for Leo.
It's just when him and Kate Winslet, you really can't get it.
Yeah.
So, but all that being said, Skip, everything, all this is predicated on what? When Marcus Morris goes 50% from the floor, there ain't no in the playoffs.
Okay, so here's my takeaway. The first line that DeMarcus uttered about he's one of the most special ever to lace him up. I agree with that because I think even you agree deep down.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 6'8",
Yes.
and long, and can play defense just the way you play offense. He's led this league in steals record. He's been all defense 4 times. In 2019, at Oklahoma City, led the league in steals and finished 3rd in the MVP.
Right.
He is supremely talented. He's not a good free throw shooter for the most part until it's time to make them. And they made all 8 last night. He's a great free throw.
Yes.
Okay. So we see that he's got deep range. He's got the whole package. He's got, dare I say, he's got a lot of what LeBron has. I'm not saying he's LeBron, but he's in the ballpark with LeBron. He's a very, he can't pass the ball like LeBron can, but he's a pretty good passer.
He can shoot the 3. He got the mid-range. He can get to the basket.
Hey.
I mean, and all of this, he's become this after that gruesome injury that he suffered in Vegas during the All-Star thing. I mean, Olympic.
Yes. And then before he joined the Clippers, after Kawhi recruited him out of Oklahoma City, he needed 2 shoulder surgeries. So he came into last season, not this past one, the year before. The first year with the Clippers, double shoulder surgery.
Come on, man. Dragging him to the fucking first down.
And he says right now he's feeling...
God damn, you might well just let him hit him.
Okay, so we've seen 7 All-Star teams that he's made.
God damn.
Defense, 3rd in MVP. So I think we can acknowledge he's a really good player. Yeah. I mean, he's a star. I can't go superstar.
But that's why you're conflicted. Because you just ran off his resume and then you watch games that he have and you say, what the hell is this, PG? That's what's conflicting. That's what starts the narrative.
Going on,
this guy is so supremely talented. And you watch what he did last night. Give the guy 5 shots in 40 minutes. He missed 5 shots in 40 minutes.
And I told you I couldn't give him an A. I gave him a B. 6 horrendous turnovers, where he had stretches of turnover play where you said, what happened to you? Have you hit the wall psychologically and physically?
He let him in a assist, Skip, and he gave you 13 rebounds.
But again, he's the kind you walk away and look at the box score, and you say,
it's all good, fellas. We even got most of that clock. We good.
Game 4, where you looked at the box score and you said, but no, you know what happened in the 4th quarter? 1 of 7 happened in the 4th.
But I think the thing is, plus, a lot of that 1 of 7, Skip, some of those turnovers that you're talking about in Game 4, they happened in the 4th quarter. Thankfully for the Clippers, none of these really costly turnovers happened late in the ball game.
Not late, but he had a salvo. He had 3 in the 4th quarter.
Yeah. Or the game wasn't close enough that it was a 1-score game. Now all of a sudden the turnover, now you got a tie ball game.
So think about this. Since Paul George entered the league, if we look at playoff statistics, there are only 3 players who have this caliber of numbers. He's 21, 8, and 4 in playoff games since he entered the league. Only LeBron and KD have better lines than that. Okay? So just remember, that doesn't grow on Southern California palm tree. He's from Palmdale, right up the road from LA. It's just hard to find those kind of numbers. But does he have issues? Does he have flaws? Yeah. And he's hard to trust. He's hard to trust from start to finish of games. But would you want to have him on your team? I would.
Yeah, but Skip, he created the narrative. Just like he created that name, he created the narrative that come playoff time, in meaningful playoff games, he has come up small. That's the narrative. Skip. They gave Magic Johnson back. Magic was a 2-time Finals MVP. But he did something in '84. He dribbled out the clock. When they had the game won.
He did.
And they called him tragic.
They did.
Now, you talk about Magic Johnson, who had won the Finals MVP twice. And they labeled him that. even after that. So what do you think Paul George is going to get? Who's won nothing?
And Magic came right back the next year and wiped the slate clean.
Yes.
Nobody thought of Tragic anymore.
Thank you. Okay. That's what Paul George. See, you think that just like, he won some games. Y'all got to stop. No. It took Magic to come back and win the championship in '85.
Mm-hmm.
For you, so that made it 3. Let's think about that. The guy was a 2-time finalist.
Let's go.
And people like, hold on.
One mistake, okay? When I hark back to Game 2 at Phoenix, it was classic playoff/pandemic P. Because remember, he has a burst of points, just an explosion of points. From the 240 mark down to the 20-second mark, he scored 9 points.
Right.
And I'm like, I got this. Then he goes to the line to put them up 3.
Right.
And it would have forced them on the last possession to shoot a 3 instead of the inbound lob to 8.
Right.
And you know what happened? Clank happened. Okay, so it's hard to embrace that because you're like, oh, he's great. No, he's not. He's pandemic Pete. Look, there he did it again. And then Game 4 at home, he goes 1 of 7 in the fourth quarter and 0 of 2 from 3.
Right.
And 5 of 9 on free throws, and it's hard to wrap your arm back around it, right? So you're saying, well, I can't trust it. And then if I can quickly hark back to that game you talked about in 2018, the closeout game at Utah.
Yeah.
This is his worst game ever. He's 2 of 16 and 0 of 6 from 3. But remember, that's a game where Russ has taken 43 shots.
Yeah.
It's just hard to even find shots because Russ trusts nobody but Russ.
Right.
And he's not going to create shots for you.
Yeah.
It's just hard to even find shots because Russ trusts nobody but Russ.
Right.
And he's not going to create shots for you. You got to sort of find your own
And that
shots.
was 2 weeks before. That was when Paul George called himself playoff P.
That was right there.
Yeah. Skip, it was so. Carmelo Anthony on stage with him like, I didn't know they called him.
He
that.
laughed. He laughed.
Thank you. So,
By the way, Carmelo in that closeout game scored 7 points with 3 rebounds. So he wasn't any better. He was a minus 19.
Yes.
Okay?
So you talking about somebody that's around the NBA that knows the nicknames and knows how to everybody around, they call it book. Every book has book. So hearing somebody that's around you is like, oh, that's what they call it? That's my first time hearing it. Okay. You give yourself a name playoff. Okay, I'm gonna see it in the playoffs.
Okay, so my bottom line is I'm still happy he's on my team tomorrow night.
Okay.
That's all I got to say.
I'm gonna see if you feel that same way when you come in here Thursday.
Okay, let's see.
Hope we can carry the momentum, the energy, the confidence, and the Clippers will need another huge game out of Paul George tomorrow night. Game 6, the Suns need just one win to eliminate LA and head to the finals. But Phoenix head coach Monty Williams says the Suns need to play with, quote, desperation tomorrow night. He was pretty upset in his post-game comments yesterday after listening to him. So, Shannon, who wins Game 6?
I'm going with the Suns because the pressure is now back on the Clippers. Because, Skip, like I said before, Game 5, you're 5.5-point underdogs, and you're without your best player in Kawhi. So if you lose the ball game, what? You're expected to lose. You're without Kawhi. You got every excuse in the book. But what you do? You won. You brought it back to L.A. Now the pressure is on you because you brought it back to L.A. Let's see if you can you force a Game 7 and go back to Phoenix on Friday. I think Game 7 will be Friday.
It'll be Friday.
So, do I believe Marcus Morris can get off to that kind of start again? Probably not. Reggie Jackson can play. Reggie Jackson is showing that, I'm not going to play for a minimum contract next year. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to throw a boatload of money at him. And rightfully so.
Yep.
He's earned that.
He has.
Is Boogie going to give you the type of performance, Skip? 15 points in 11 minutes? I mean, he's shown flashes, but I hadn't seen this Boogie Cousins in a very, very long time. So do I believe the Clippers are capable of getting off to the start in Game 6 like they got off in Game 5? I do not. See, the thing is with the Clippers, if you let them get out early, they get a chance to relax. You need to put them to the test. You need to make them feel the pressure from the opening tip to the end of the ball game. And then you'll see. Because they let them get real comfortable, Skip. They let them get into the ivory towel. They had mink slippers. They had nice Versace robes like the one you got. You probably had it on last night.
I did not have it on.
You need to put it on.
That would have done me in.
You need to put it on tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to hold my hat on that. Monty Williams is upset, and rightfully so. Guys, what were we doing? We let them get whatever they want. We let them get to the rim when they want. We let them get the 3. We told them we got to chase them off the 3.
He was mostly talking about a 20-5 hole that they dug for themselves.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But, Monty, don't be afraid to call timeout, too, now. That thing get 8-2, get 12-2, 13-2. Use your timeout. It's okay, bro. You got 7 of them. What you saving them from? I understand that you might want to use one for a challenge, but you want to stem the tide. Get over here, let's talk about it. You see Ty Lue Skip? You get out the 8-2, run on him. He pointed that fish, give me that. I'm going to take the Suns to close this thing out.
Okay. You are speaking with your heart and not your head. Your head is telling you, be careful. Correct?
Aces do.
Your head is telling you this is going to go 7 aces. Okay?
No points.
No points. Well, I'm glad no points because the Clippers are actually favored tomorrow night by 1 point. You get no points. You just said no points, so you get no points. Thank you very much for that. I completely disagree with your premise. The pressure is still all on Chris Paul and the Suns. Twice in his career before, he has blown 3-1 leads. He knows how it feels, and he knows what happens, especially in Game 6, where you feel it all slipping away. They think they have to come and close the deal because they don't want to have to deal with a Game 7 at home against this team.
No, because against this team.
The pressure's still all on the Suns because the only time the Clippers felt pressure in the series was in Game 4 because that was the game where you can make it a conventional series where you tie it up at 2 and then you see what happens and see if you can kind of seize control in Game 5. You do it the conventional, the routine way, right? This team can't do anything routinely. This team is only at its best when it's at its worst. It has to do it the hardest way. So what has happened? No team has ever come back from 0-2 down in 2 consecutive playoff series. They did that. Well, now on top of that,
they're 0-2 in the third series.
Yeah, and here they go again, now down 3-1. Well, it's exactly who they are. It has revealed them. It's pushed them back with backs to wall to expose their character, which is it's deep. This team has a backbone to it, but the pressure is still on Chris Paul and company to come in and finish these guys off.
Paul George gave you 41, 13, and 6. If you don't follow that, replicate that performance with another outstanding performance and they lose, what was that for? So what did it change? Remember, it's all about Skip. Playoff Pete. You can't have one good game and then erase what transpired. You know, remember, Magic had to win a title.
Yep.
Okay, he got to get him out of this series.
Okay, do I think he can go for 41? I don't. Do I think they need 41? I do not. They have so much firepower already where I think Marcus Morris is getting healthier. Remember, he had some kind of a knee issue, and he's looking like Marcus Morris Sr. again. And I trust him in this game to set the tone. I trust Patrick Beverley just to wreak havoc because pressure doesn't get to you on defense. All you do on defense is just play hard. It's not a choke game, right, on defense. It's not hard to play hard. You just play with your heart and sometimes with your head. But has he not been doing a number both on Book and on CP3?
And Cameron Payne.
Wherever they put him, he disrupts, he distracts, and ultimately he destroys. And I think it's been like a godsend, like a revelation. He's come out of mothballs. He wasn't playing very much through the year. He had lost his spot in this rotation.
They might have been low managed.
Maybe they were. I don't know. And you know and I know Terrence Mann didn't put up big numbers last night, but he is capable of a big 20-point game, right?
Yes.
Is he afraid? No, he's not afraid. And Luke Kennard gave them nothing last night, and I promise you, at home, Luke Kennard is capable of giving you 20 because he can rain threes. If he gets in a rhythm, you better look out.
Yeah, he had one. He had a couple that in and out from the three-point line. I think the thing is, Skip, is that Paul limit Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris early. Paul George, you let Paul George do his thing because what you're trying to do is get those other guys out of rhythm. You see, the thing is, Skip, they got in the rhythm. Paul George is the best player, but the other guys were able to get a rhythm and stay there. So get those guys off key early. Let Paul get his 13, 14 shots up.
Okay.
Make him tough, obviously. You don't want to give him layups. You don't want to finally put him on the free throw line. But I'm just saying, get Marcus Morris, get Reggie Jackson out of rhythm, but you got to come out in the first quarter. You see what the Clippers did to you. They jumped on you in the first quarter. You got to do the same thing.
And remember, the next revelation has been DeMarcus Cousins. You want to talk about talented? I pushed in that John Wall DeMarcus Cousins draft.
Yeah.
I said he should be the first
Right.
pick in the draft, and I still believe in that.
Yeah.
Well, he's not too old to do what he's doing right now.
It just is just so many injuries.
I know. I got it. But,
Skip, you know, Skip, that was a serious question. Who would you rather have, AD or Boogie?
Sure it was. When they were playing together? Yeah.
When he was in Sacramento, Skip, Boogie was giving you 55-24, giving you 40-25. He was like that.
Did you see Boogie steal the ball from Chris Paul and go score it on the other end?
I saw that.
Okay, was that not a message sent again? That's what he's capable of doing.
Yes.
Well, if you start playing him 12, 13, 15 minutes against Ayton, I love this.
Right.
Again, would I rather have Kawhi? Would I rather have Zoo? Would I rather have Serge Ibaka? Sure, I would.
Yeah.
But I like the unity of this team. And I love what Paul George said right after the game. And you could call this cliches, but he said the important thing is we are doing this together. And if you want to interpret that as a little bit of shot at Kawhi, feel free. Because Kawhi's not a together guy. He's a solo guy.
Right.
He's not a bad guy.
No.
He just keeps to himself.
He ain't trying to bring anybody. Kawhi's like, follow me. I'm going to do my thing.
I'm going to do my thing. It's not that he causes problems. He causes no problem. Because he doesn't talk to anybody. But this team is having fun doing this together.
Skip, here's the elephant in the room. I'm not saying the Suns are better without Chris Paul, but Chris Paul slows
Forge your recipes, get it before it's gone. No one else beats that.
July 13th, Judge Tatis Ohtani and baseball's finest face off in a mile-high midsummer slugfest from Coors Field in Denver. It's the 2021 MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 13th on Fox. And the Clippers have begun yet another comeback attempt this postseason. Paul George led the way last night for LA with a game-high 41 points to grab the 116-102 win in Phoenix. Marcus Morris and Reggie Jackson combined for 45 points as the Clippers were able to lead for a majority of the game and force a Game 6 tomorrow night in LA. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard is joining us now. Chris, what's the biggest reason the Clippers won this one?
I think the biggest reason was playoff P, Paul George, and obviously had a historic performance. He led the Clippers in everything, 41 points, rebounds, he had 13, assists, he had 6, even steals, he had 3. It was a fantastic performance. He was the first player in the 74-year history of the NBA to put up those numbers and shoot 75% from the floor. So he put on a huge performance. And what I liked most about it was that going into the game with everybody criticizing him, including me, for missing the free throws at the end of Game 4, even going back to Game 2, and everyone saying he had to have a big performance, he just went out there and let the game come to him. Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson were on the broadcast saying that he had to be more aggressive. He needed to do more. And yet he still continued to just play his game. And what that did was, one, it led to him being efficient because he only took good shots for the most part. But two, it gave his teammates the room to do their thing. So Marcus Morris can go out and score 20 points in the first half. If Paul George is forcing the action and trying to be the star and carry them by himself, Marcus Morris doesn't do that. Boogie Cousins gets 10 points in the first half. And then in the fourth quarter, of course, Reggie Jackson scores 8 points in a 2-minute stretch to kind of put the game away. And Paul George was just the steady guy throughout from the second quarter on. 8 points in the second, 20 points in the third, 10 points in the fourth. So he had a tremendous performance, nice bounce back. And I said yesterday, that foul shooting was a big part of this series because the teams are so evenly matched. The Clippers go out and make 14 of 15 free throws, led by Paul George by hitting all 8 of his free throws. So, Pandemic P, look, I gave him the lion's share of the blame in Game 4. Now I got to call him playoff P and give him the lion's share of the blame of the credit in Game 5.
Well, Chris, I thought Paul George was able to relax because Marcus Morris and all other guys got up to that great start. So as you mentioned, and I was trying to skip in the opening segment, is that he didn't have to force anything. Normally, he's trying to get up 10, 12 shots in the first quarter, and they're not necessarily all good shots. Every shot that he really took yesterday was a premium quality shot. And because Marcus Morris started 6 of 6, Reggie Jackson got up to a great start. You mentioned Boogie comes in, and Boogie gives you valuable minutes, 15 points in 11 minutes. I thought that allowed PG to play within himself. He doesn't have to force the issue because he's like, you know what? Hey, it's going to be a great day for me. And you're right. He was missed 5 shots in 40 minutes of play. He was spectacular. He was. There's give the man his flowers. You mentioned, and I didn't think he could, because when Ty Lue said it's very doable coming back and winning the series, I was like, yeah, if you got LeBron that's going to give you 41 and Kyrie's going to give you 41. I didn't see Paul George giving him 41. I did not see Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris Sr. giving you 45 between the two. So when I look at it from that perspective, you're right. Playoff Paul played really well, but I'm not going to say he deserved all the credit because I think Marcus Morris getting up to the start that he got up to, Skip, I think that played a big role in allowing Paul George to relax, play within himself, and get quality shots.
Okay. Did we lose Chris or did something happen? Oh, okay. So it's just
you and I.
Okay. It shakes me that you have swung wildly from
pandemic Pete back to playoff Pete, and that you're giving Paul George an A++ for last night. And it shakes me that Chris Broussard just said it was an all-time great performance and that it was all about Paul George. It was not all about Paul George last night. And
oh, it said.
What's up, everyone? Quinn Oldenburg here, gameplay producer of Madden NFL 22. Today I'm thrilled to bring you some details on Madden 22's all-new dynamic game day feature and the 3 components that combine to create it. You'll also learn about 4 gameplay improvements, including player movement, catching, blocking, and tackling. Let's get into it. Dynamic Game Day is a next-gen feature that delivers on the raw energy and emotion of NFL game days through 3 core components: Game Day Atmosphere, Game Day Momentum, and Next-Gen Stats Star-Driven AI. Dynamic Game Day deepens the gameplay experience through new levels of strategy, unique storytelling, and immersive stadium atmospheres. It also makes every snap and every game feel like a new challenge and impacts gameplay across every mode. Let's dive into the details, starting with Game Day Atmosphere. Game Day Atmosphere enhances every game of Madden 22 by bringing to life the unique characteristics and personality of each NFL stadium, as well as the real-world emotion, intensity, and fun of game day. Some examples of how Atmosphere can impact gameplay include crowd noise making it tougher for the quarterback to hear a call or make an audible at the line, or a receiver to miss a hot route just like they might in real life. This all ties into the next component of Dynamic Game Day, an all-new game mechanic called Game Day Momentum. Game Day Momentum allows you to feel the highs and lows of the momentum swings of every game with the performance-based momentum meter and its in-game perks known as M-Factors. As momentum is gained and lost, M-Factors will affect teams in unexpected ways. Some M-Factor impacts include leaving a kicker in the ice state, receiver icons going missing, or making a hot route become more difficult to perform. We're also introducing home field advantage in Madden 22. Every NFL stadium in the game features a unique M-Factor that, when triggered, can unlock a special boost created. NFL team's environment. The home team will always have one extra M-Factor in the momentum meter, stimulating the difficulty of winning on the road in the NFL. These unique M-Factors will be the first to unlock when a momentum shift happens. Here are some examples of the effects of home field advantage in different stadiums. Now, on to the third component of Dynamic Game Day, Next-Gen Stats Star-Driven AI. Over the last 2 years, more than 80% of games have been played against the CPU. By leveraging the NFL's Next-Gen Stats, we've upgraded AI player behaviors and team tendencies so that single-player games will feel just as deep and meaningful as playing against other humans. For individual AI players, Next-Gen Stats are now used to drive player tendencies like these. For Team AI, each team will have its own personality, play calling style, and team tendencies, all driven by Next-Gen Stats. For example, defenses like the Steelers who like to blitz will challenge your pocket presence on offense. Playing against a run-heavy team like the Ravens will be a completely different experience than playing the pass-heavy Bills. Play now in franchise, these tendencies will evolve all season long as team stats change, either in the real world or within your franchise sim, so that each game will feel as fresh as each week in the NFL season. Next up, core gameplay improvements. We've gone even deeper with next-gen player movement this year, making players even more authentic and explosive in their movements and interactions, and added more nuance, context, and intelligence. In addition to more route running and player speed data, you'll also see the following. And that's not all.
See?
Expect.
That's what I wanted to see. Max effort animations for all players when running at top speed. I'd be like, how the hell the wide receiver running at top speed, but the cornerback behind him just jogging? More responsive control for quarterbacks to and from scramble. Signature releases and cuts from receivers around running. More control when turning up the field after a catch. Contextual intelligence and tackling sound.
And that's not all. Expect more control when it comes to catching, like independent player battles for balls in the air, improved sideline catch foot detection, and more control and responsiveness in turning up the field after a catch. Tackling improvements include big, bruising ball carriers will be more likely to fall forward in tackles, whereas smaller, more agile ball carriers will not be picking up those extra yards. And we improve blocking too. Passing pockets will form deeper and faster around the quarterback. And expect run blocking momentum enhancements like more animation variety, while opening up dynamic running lanes, ensuring momentum is properly reflected on both sides of the ball. Thanks for spending your time with us to learn more about Dynamic Game Day and Madden NFL 22. Stay tuned to EA Sports Madden NFL 22 channels for more information on the game ahead of the worldwide launch on August 20th, 2021.
It was at 10 o'clock. I said, I remember. Oh man, we'll see the shits. Like I said, man, it sound good. Yeah, good at making shit sound good. You know what I'm saying? They say you're gonna have more control over your passes. I'd be like, I can't even go for the ball. So you gotta wait and see, man. I can't never get no damn code for the beta, man.
So the point was, they end up winning that game by 14 points.
Yeah,
right?
they did.
So in the end, the Clippers have now won more games in a playoff run while trailing in a series than any game in the history, any team in the history of the league. What? They've won 7 times while trailing in series.
Yeah.
Well, they have a chance to keep on keeping on, right?
And now Ty Lue is 10-2 all time with facing elimination.
Really?
3-0 so far this
I'll
year.
take that.
He's the, as far as facing elimination,
That's the best.
Yes.
Let's go.
So in the end, Patrick Beverly came up big. Again, you can say that he got away with this or that or this, but again, he's a difference maker.
Right.
Nicholas Batum is a difference maker because he makes all the little plays. He gets all the loose balls.
The thing you think you got to lay up, DeAndre Ayton is about to get a rebound, and Harry Batum knocks it out of his hand.
He just knows how to play basketball.
He does. It's the little things. He's not going to score you 30 points, but he does all the little stuff. Patrick Beverly had a good third quarter.
He did.
He didn't do much in the fourth quarter, but the third quarter, he had 5 points, 2 or 3 from the floor, 1 or 2 from the three-point line.
Yeah.
But that's not what anything that Pat Beverly gives you on the offensive end, you can ice it. His whole thing is the case for him is on the defensive end. Make Chris Paul, make Devin Booker life as miserable as possible.
And he has.
He's deep in green.
And he will.
Yes. But I believe in Book coming back here. Yeah. Book will come back and get it.
Come back.
Maybe you should just forget about that mask. Right?
Distracted at that point.
About the mask.
I need CP3. I need CP3 and Book. Instead of going 17 or 41, I need y'all to go like 20 or 30. Between 2 of y'all.
Well, you're betting on the wrong horses.
Okay, well, you said Book is going to be back. Chris Broussard will also be back with us next. We got to figure out if we have been just a bit too critical of Paul George. We'll tell you what Boogie had to say.
Baseball night is America on Fox. Who is the top?
First quarter is going to be some catches that they rally to him quickly. And that's what you count on. And I like what you just said. First quarter, can you do it all game long? They catch it, you tackle them, they go down on the spot. Because when you're able to do that, you don't give up big chunks of yards for the catch. Now you put the offensive position every series. They have to work hard to get that first down. And you tell me something about to do that.
Oh, get that!
You're effective. Okay.
That
time he got in close,
Taco night is heartburn you can plan for, but surprise pizza means heartburn you didn't expect. New Zantac 360 degrees contains the #1 doctor-recommended medicine approved to prevent and relieve heartburn. It works in as little as 15 minutes. New Zantac 360.
Montez Sweat in there to drop him for a 6-yard loss, and that will lead to 4th down.
And we'll check them both for free.
Yes. FixFinder, the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. From you touch it, you buy it, Dan. To first name basis with a delivery guy, Dan.
Hey, his name is Skipper. It's hard to forget. It's also a wonderful name.
The new City Custom Cash Card automatically adjusts to where your spending is trending.
Each of us has a different story, but this family isn't about where you come from. It's about where you're going. We might not recognize each other walking down the street, but driving down it, we recognize in each other the same spirit of adventure. There's only one family and one community, quite like ours. Jeep, there's only one.
Current FCA owners or lessees can get $5,400 bonus cash on the lease of a 2021 Cherokee, or purchasing at 0% financing plus no monthly payments for 90 days.
Verizon launched the first 5G network, and now we want to be the first to give everyone the joy of 5G with a new 5G phone on us. Old customers, new customers, trade in your old one. Cracked buttons, sticky buttons. We're calling it the biggest upgrade ever because it is.
You know what's making Sarah's migraine worse?
Okay, let's table that.
But you know what gives her some relief? Using ZocDoc to book a video visit.
You'll get the prescription this afternoon. Does that work?
Yes. ZocDoc makes healthcare easy.
At Philadelphia, we know what makes the perfect smear of cream cheese. The recipe we invented over 145 years ago, and me, the world's best, and possibly only, schmeelier. Philadelphia, schmear perfection.
For transgender people, a secure payment means paying for something without being disrespected, humiliated, even assaulted, simply because the name on your credit card doesn't match how you identify. This is about more than just keeping a card safe. It's about keeping us safe. TrueName by MasterCard, the first card that allows you to display your chosen name, because that's who you truly are.
I am seeing what everybody else is not, and here we go.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. My firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, hundreds of people with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them. We have local offices throughout the U.S., and there is no risk to you. Mesothelioma really is all we do. Call us at 1-800-300-7914. That's 1-800-300-7914. Or go to mesobook.com.
Time for new reading glasses? Go to readers.com. Choose from hundreds of styles and colors for under $20. And now, enter this exclusive TV coupon code at checkout to save up to 40%. That's readers.com.
That's my face before Curology. Man, I don't miss that. Answer some questions, snap some selfies. A dermatology provider makes a formula for my skin. My acne starts disappearing. Curology changed everything.
Paul George had an efficient night in the Clippers' Game 5 win. PG-13 racked up 41 points on 15 points from the floor that included 3 of 6 points and a perfect 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Teammate DeMarcus Cousins defended PG-13 after the game, saying he's taking a bad rap.
Let me get that code from that Chantel dot 27, Chantel 27.
Leave my email alone.
Man, that ain't. It's my Twitch G email.
Hey.
Dude, got time for this.
591-448.
591-448. 591-448.
Well, first, I think you started off very true, talking about social media. And guys, people on social media who would fawn all over Paul George and other NBA stars and Boogie Cousins if they saw them in public, asking for selfies and pictures and things like that, are sometimes ruthless on social media. The thing is, that happens to everybody, all right? Even Michael Jordan, there's the crying Jordan meme. So everybody gets mocked to a degree on social media. So he's right in that. Then he goes on to talk about Paul George and being a special player. Now, look, you guys know I sat on here last week, and I said that Paul George is probably a Hall of Famer. And I think that this run in the playoffs, even as he's had his ups and downs, this is a nice run. I mean, this is a special run to score 20 straight points or 20 points in 18 straight playoff games. Only Durant, Jordan, and one more person, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, have done that. LeBron.
No, LeBron is doing the 20 points. The 20 points in 18 consecutive games?
Yeah.
Kobe did it in 2008.
Yes. Kobe, Jordan, and Durant. All right, so that's special company. All right, and I think if they go, like a game like last night is one that people will remember when they think about his Hall of Fame case. If they somehow come back and win this series, I actually think Paul George solidifies it. Case closed. He'll be a Hall of Famer. And so, depending on how broad you go, I mean, if Boogie is going really broadly to say that he's one of the most special players ever to play the game, the Hall of Fame is phenomenal, obviously. But everybody in the Hall of Fame, I wouldn't say is one of the most special. Ben Wallace just got put in the Hall of Fame. I wouldn't say he's one of the most special players ever to lace up sneakers. Dennis Johnson, who was great for the Celtics in Seattle, I wouldn't say he's one of the most special players that ever lace up sneakers. So I just don't feel comfortable saying that about Paul George. I don't think he's a top 10 small forward of all time. He's obviously got a little time to strengthen his case over the next several years. But I can think of a dozen guys at small forward that I would put before Paul George and even more than that. So the statement, one of the most special guys that ever lace him up, that doesn't really sit well with me. I don't think of Paul George like that. But I do think he is solidifying and strengthening his case to be a Hall of Famer. So if you go really broad, as Boogie apparently wants to, then I guess.
Damn, Hall of Famer, a guy that doesn't get a ring, never was an MVP, never was a Finals MVP, never been an All-Star Game MVP.
Tracy McGrady. Never won a playoffs.
Okay, you're right.
In fact, I think you're in the Basketball Hall of Fame as well as in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right? Chris, let me ask you this. So when all these
standards a little lower.
Yeah. Chris, so let me ask you this. With all these players in Paul George's face, from the Devin Bookers and all these guys saying you saw, you ain't this, you ain't that, is that social media driven, or is that the players that play the game talking to him?
No, that's fair. I mean, look, as Skip said, he opened himself up to that. As much as we obviously support mental health, you know, when you in a cutthroat game, dudes will use that to go against you. And so I think that's a part of it.
But the problem that I have, look, and I love that men and women are addressing the mental health issue. I really do, Chris. But when he was flying on cloud nine, he never mentioned that. It wasn't until he started to falter. He started choking and choking and choking. Now, he might have been dealing with that. But when he was freewheeling, finishing third in the MVP and Skip brought up, he didn't mention anything. That's my only problem. But he gave himself the name Playoff Pete. I had Ashley go back and said, I want you to find out the first time that a player or a coach or someone mentioned the word Playoff Pete. It was in 2018. Before the final, before they played Utah. That was the first time. And he mentioned it. So if you give yourself a name, Playoff, or you give yourself a name, Skip, I didn't give my name Big Play Shea. They gave me that. Because in the playoffs, I made a big play. So they started.
I think Ray gave it.
Trent Dilfer gave me that thing. But Skip, you give yourself a name like that. I mean, you got to live up to it and win. The playoffs, not the regular season. Eastern Conference Finals. When he took that big three, Miami Heat, he was 7 points, 2-9.
Right.
Against LeBron his last year, he's 5-21. They got swept. Against Utah, He's 2 of 16, 5 points. That's playoff Pete. You didn't say regular season Pete. You said playoff Pete. Magic Johnson, you think
I
he's not a Hall
can't
of
be
Famer?
broadcasting with that right there. Well, with my camera can't be up.
I mean, with that real, I mean, never won a scoring title, never been an MVP. But hey, you might be skilled. Hey, Chris, you follow it, guys. You vote. So you would know better than I. All I know is last night he was special, and I haven't seen enough of this for him to warrant the name, call himself Playoff P. And then when people criticize him, he get all upset and talk about, we talking sideways.
Okay. I believe that Paul George is a rare talent because you just can't find 6'8" long who can play defense at such a high level that he's made 4 all-defense teams. He's a very good shooter. He's a great free throw shooter. He's a very good three-point shooter. So he's in LeBron's ballpark in talent. I'm not saying he's better than LeBron, but he has much of what LeBron has. He's a very good passer. He's not LeBron, but it's quite a package of ability that he has, which is why he has become, for me,